This is the build I used for my parts list. It is from the Arducopter site. I'll put a link to it in the video description. I tried to copy this parts list as much as I could. I did go with 1250 kV motors instead of 1300, and they were 2809 instead of 2806.5, I believe. I went with the Maytag 743 Slim. I did do the Unify Pro. First time I ever did that transmitter. Did a Crossfire Nano RX instead of a TBS Tracer. Did use Jim Fan 7040 props. Runcam Phoenix 2, Josh Bardwell edition. I like that camera. I did use the M8Q 5883 GPS module. I did use the Triumph Pro long range antenna on the Unify Pro. Of course, I didn't use the Tracer dipoles because I didn't use the Tracer receiver. I did use the T-Motor F55A 4-in-1 ESC, and I used ready-made RC 3500 6S. I think it's 100C, not sure. I have downloaded this just to compare against my perimeter list. But that's basically how I started out. I just ordered all these parts, and while I was waiting on them, I did go through his videos. I think he's sort of like me. He gets off on tangents, which I like in some fashions, but he is way over my head in a lot of the things he's doing. So by the time the parts came, I had watched enough of his videos to know I can't really follow his videos verbatim because he talks about concepts I haven't even started on. I think he's one of the Ardu developers, not sure. But he sure helped me a lot on this build. Basically his build here, base plate assembly of the frame, that's pretty easy. There's some little things. I tried to make it more clear in my videos about the camera mount, which I missed easily, and other things with the frame. Loading up Ardu. I've been doing that for 10 years or more. That wasn't too hard for me. Loading on the firmware. ESC setup. I had fun with that. I didn't have too much problem with it. I couldn't get anything out of it until I actually wired it up to the FC and turned on the communications, which I suspected, so I wasn't at all stressed over how the ESC went. I didn't like the way a lot of the software worked. I think I found a lot of problems with it that just never been fixed because it's not really that much of a problem. You get it running and get it going pretty much from what they have. We're starting to get into some perimeters here for the first time, so I'll touch on them as I get to them. This is the ESC telemetry. This is the D-shot and the pass-through. I found all these parameters without looking at them here, including this one for my D-shot commands. I did not do this one. And I don't know if that's for the LEDs on that ESC. I can't see them. They're trapped between the ESC and the flight controller. Maybe there's enough of a crack there I could look through there and see them, but I didn't see any reason, and I don't see if this matters with any external LEDs. So when I found this, I didn't change it. He used CRSF control on his video transmitter. I use smart audio, so couldn't really set it exactly like his. Actually, yep, I did all of this just from the research I did. I did not do anything with Yahoo. That's a future thing for me. I've played with it in the past. Just wasn't the point of my build. I did come in here and use his values for this. Well, I used this value. Other than that, it was obvious to me to turn off rotation if you're going to do a custom rotation like this right here, and you have to put 100 in the compass orientation to get a custom value. It was obvious to me it was rotated 180. I was going to get a little protractor or something and figure out what degrees mine was tilted down at, but came in here and saw his said -15, so I said, okay, I'll try that. I hope that's not the front compass he put on. Of course, if it's front or back, still tilted down, it wouldn't matter. But I used the Be Heli Sweet to reverse my motors. I didn't do it with the mask inside Ardu, but I did understand it. I did use the motor stop. You saw the first time I used it, I just pancaked it right on the ground. I pulled the wrong switch. So I did make it a 2-step switch where I have to actually think about it a little more. I probably use different flight modes than him. Position hold. Is that my loiter? I'll have to go back and look at that. I have my throttle fail-safe set to return to home instead of land. And I've got I put my motor spin down just as low as it would go. I kept playing with this number. Did this on my own. Until I dropped it down a number they wouldn't spin. I knocked it back up 1 digit, and I think it wasn't a full digit. I think it was a partial digit here, but I just knocked it up again to, if it quit spinning at 0.01, I knocked it to 0.02. And that's how slow they spin at ARM. I just need to see their spin, and that's it. Verify motor emergency stop. This video doesn't exist anymore. I guess I can insert mine in there for him. Verify motor emergency stop. Don't do like Vernon did here. Current calibration, bidirectional D-shot setup. You saw me doing this. I did come in here and look at his, and I did set it to this and this at one point. I didn't like it, so I set this back to the default, didn't use his value, and ended up setting 53 here. It probably does need to come back down a little bit, but I'd rather it read slightly high than slightly low. So I will come back at some point and play with this again and get it closer. Initial tune, notch filter configuration. I did come in here and get his notch filter information and try it, and it did work pretty good. So I kept it. Other than that, I didn't use any of his values here at all. Nope. No, sure didn't. Didn't raise the rate like he did here. I took these two values right here. You remember I had a 2 or 3 day learning curve on the notch filter. I think 3-day learning curve is not bad at all on a new concept that's like that. I didn't have any problems with it. Stressed at the time, but nah. I didn't have to do any other changes with my reversing on my motors. Now, this was the temperature calculations for temperature calibrations for the IMUs. Remember, I didn't do that. This is not part of what they talk about in the Arducopter documentation. He talks about it here. Again, he's an advanced user. I think he's a developer. So I may come back and revisit this later. It says here, the compass interference proved very problematic in practice, and in the end I opted for a second external compass at the front of the vehicle. That may be what I have to do. I think that's my biggest problem. I think right now my platform flies well when it's not stressed out. But I think when I start horsing it around, right, left, forward, back, or something like that, the compass just goes a little crazy. The rear compass interference can be reduced by holding the lead vertically away using a battery strap. Let me see. Let me show you what I think he's talking about there. And I think there he's talking about exactly what I was talking about, that when this is connected, in that position, it gets in the way of the props, possibly. So why do you do that? See, it just reset. Pause. So I've been sort of pulling it this way to get it out of the way of any prop if it moves slightly. But I think he's saying what he needs done is pulled up like this. So I'm going to find something to do that right there. And hopefully that might make my problem a little less. I had seen he had put a second compass on it when I went and watched his videos, but I somehow missed that little tidbit about pulling that up out of the way. So I'm going to try to do something about that. He said do it with a battery strap. I can't get to the battery strap. I'm not quite sure what to do. Now me, I wouldn't have put a second compass on the front. I would have just moved the compass to the front. The CNI had not actually ever noticed that in his documentation. I'm more convinced I've still got a little bit of a compass problem. He didn't say about anything about compass motor compensation, that utility. I'll have to go back and see if he does anywhere in his documentation, because that might also solve this problem. Now, it's not going to solve a problem of being shadowed with the metal that's in this and this plastic and the metal in the wires, just shadowing the physical device from signals. But it would compensate for the magnetic fields that build out in that wire and do all sorts of things. Don't think the antenna's as bad of a problem because it's coax in truth. So therefore the signals is going through the center of that coax and it's surrounded fully by the ground. So I think that shields it. But I have not liked that from day one. And reading through his documentation further solidifies in my mind I've got problems there that need to be fixed.
I wonder if my solution is as simple as that. This is a bag of rubber bands. We used these to hold the wings on balsa airplanes back in the day. And there's one wrapped around that. I wonder if I can get away with that as the solution to my compass problem. And I wonder if doing that is going to let me experiment to see if the problem goes away. I can fly it like that and read the logs. I can put it back like it was and fly it and read the logs. Like I say, I think it is a problem, but I think in my logs from yesterday or Saturday, is it yesterday? Oh, well, days are running together on me. It doesn't actually crash in it. It looks like it isn't a grave problem until I get to doing wild things with it. But it needs to be fixed. No matter how big a problem it is a problem to me. So I suppose I will try it like that, and then I will try it like that and see what happens. Guess you could see that a little better. It's just a rubber band. See, that being down and shadowing that GPS and compass just bugs the hell out of me. Electrical wires that so much current is coming through, and we found out it's only maybe 20 amps. Well, it could go up higher. When I punch it, you see that those radiated fields there are causing problem. Bothers me. And if I turn them, well, there's no sense in turning the battery upside down. It's where the wires are going in to go to the ESC that's way down there near that. Possibly putting the compass on the front is a smarter idea to me. Perhaps this should have been designed that way to begin with. I am going to give that a hard look myself, but until then, I am going to fly it like that a couple more times, and then I'm going to do the old rubber band, I guess. Man. Rubber band it up, something like that. And test it again. And then, of course, again, we're still got the compass motor compensation that may take care of it without doing anything. I haven't really looked to his build to see if he addresses compass motor compensation at all. Well, we'll have to do that. Oh, and I don't want to impugn or say anything bad about that gentleman. I really do think what he meant by using a battery strap is he meant doing something like this with an extra battery strap around it, rather than trying to get this wire up into one of the existing battery straps, because there's just not enough room in there to get this up into an existing battery strap. You can slide this back just a bit more, but I really don't think that's what he was meaning. I don't think. And I think for my first test purposes, just a nice little rubber band. And I can put 20 on it if I want to. These are just, like I say, 50 years ago, I actually built balsa airplanes, threw them and stuff like that, but I never had the money to put radio control in them, but I built a lot of them, and this is how you held the wings on. So I've always had a pile of those around here. I do like building, I guess, more than flying, but I do like flying too.
But it's becoming very obvious to me from the logs that this is a 100% correct statement. And this is a statement of his that is in past tense. Oh man, what the hell is with that sharing? I don't want to do that. I've never seen it do that on any other page except for this one. This one's a little strange page. If you do a Control F to search for things, it comes up here. But if you really want to do a Control F, you have to do what it says here below and do another one, and then you get your normal search down here where you can search this page. And while I'm here, I'm going to go compass motor. He does talk about compass motor calibration. Oh, I'm going to come back and read this more deeply in a minute, because it looks like he actually does say you should do the compass motor calibration, and I missed that completely because, again, I wasn't exactly following his build. That's one of the reasons I wanted to do this conclusions video and go through it more carefully. So, yeah. Although I watched that video and he doesn't actually do the compass motor. I have to look at this one. Maybe I missed a couple of his videos because I actually clicked on them here and then clicked here and came over here in his YouTube channel to watch them rather than watch them off of that web page. So I may have messed up some there. But anyway, we're right here. So I am finding, and I know of a viewer's platform that I'm suspecting a lot of this right here on right now. And you've heard me talking about it the last 48 hours. So, proceeding along, we're going to try to get this out of the way. I noticed it's getting too long as it is. So he did his compass motor. If he did it, I'm going to have to come back and check this because I don't really see it. I didn't see it in these videos. So, again, he's doing his auto-tune here. He's doing only 2 channels. I recommend only 1. Now, you saw me do 3 because mentally I knew that I had a large field that was very nicely planted in grass that I could walk around in easily to my heart's content rather than a cow pasture with all sorts of landmines and sawbriars, etc., etc. I just happened to be lucky at that. Because when you do your auto-tune, repositioning it with the sticks just is dead time. Anytime you're touching the sticks to move it around, you're not moving the ball down the field. So you want to keep that to a minimum. And I knew because of the way my field, the 2 fields I can go to around here, although I never been out to them during planting season in the winter. Anyway, I knew I could walk for miles without touching the sticks, so I went for all 3, but still barely got them in the time period a 3,500 milliamp hour battery gave me. So if you're not blessed with such a pristine surface to walk on while you chase the little thing around, you're probably not going to do all 3. I guarantee it. And I'm not sure you're going to do 2. Honest. And see, if I tried it in the backyard where it's so tight, I wouldn't get 1 done, in my humble opinion. I could get, depends on how it drifts in the front field here, if I could get 2 in. I could probably get 1 in up there. All the rest of this, I have never done. God, I hate that does that. Anywhere you click, scrape on it. No, out there it doesn't turn into share. Here it turns into a share. Anyway, never seen that before. I've never done fail-safes based on battery capacity. So all those fail-safes stay at their default, which is basically don't use them. And I am actually, guess he's setting his fail-safes to don't do anything here during his test flights. Maybe like me, he doesn't like to have a lot of fail-safes on for testing, tuning. Here's that darn motor thrust hover. I don't like that auto mid thrust learning, but I'm getting used to it. And see, I just didn't set these other things that he did here. I went with my own options. I did put return to launch on a switch. He's going 2,000 centimeters, which is 20 meters, a little over 60 feet. I keep mine down low for first test. You got to keep it high enough such that it's improper altitude. If you set it for 25 and it's not quite tuned yet, it might be, the barometer might be drifting around, etc., 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 not be exactly at altitude. Probably if it's set for 25 feet, it's not going to be below 20 or above 30 to be out of altitude calibration at that time, but you don't want it drifting down when it goes towards the home point. So you want it a little high for that, but you don't want it so high. You don't want to set it for 100 feet or 200 feet at this time. You don't know if it's running away from you or going to return to launch altitude when it initiates then. So that's I shouldn't say you. You guys do what you want. I'll try to help you all I can, but I'll just tell you how I do it. And he changed the throttle fail-safe here to return to launch like me, where before he had it at land. Oh, and this is interesting. This perimeter. No, I don't want to share it, but I do want to copy it, turkey butt. I don't even know about that perimeter. I do know about one that turns logging on before you arm, but starting a new log each time. I think that's probably why I got one log showing 3 flights yesterday, although Saturday. Yesterday was supposed to be a snow day. It was a non-event. Some of us natives from around here were kind of laughing at the weather person yesterday. But I do like to see some snow from time to time. When set, the current log file is closed when the vehicle is disarmed. If log disarmed is set, then a fresh log will be opened. Applies to the file and block logging back in. Wow. I think I do not want that at its default. I just learned again. As long as if log underscore disarmed. Log underscore disarmed. I think that's the one I was talking about, where it will go ahead and start logging them while you're disarmed. So you might be able to get brownouts or other problems on the bench, or anytime you're not armed, you can log to try to find those problems. So I don't have that turned on, and I really don't want that turned on. So we'll just go back with this, and I think I'm going to turn this on, and I think it'll break those logs up. It'll close them on a disarm, and that log yesterday, instead of being concurrent 3 flights, would be 3 separate log files, and that is what I want. I want them per flight. I never unhooked the battery for those 3 flights. I just brought it back to the landing point, did some changes, flew it second time, tested the radio failsafe, flew it a little bit to try to invoke a battery cell failsafe that, as you saw, I didn't think I actually invoked, but I actually did, and it did work as I wanted it to. That was the 2 things, and an auto mission was the 3 things I went out there to test, and the 4th thing was to always see what my Crossfire Mavlink range is. I wanted to break that 1,000-foot mark of mine. Next time I go fly, I want to break it and be able to tell you guys I have a new range until it finally doesn't work and I tell you this is my final range. So I'm going to set this to a 1, and then I'm going to see what happens. That's pretty wild. I like learning new things. I love it. I want some more of it. Log bat option. I don't think I'm doing FFT logging right now because I don't have it turned on. Never been told to turn this off, but I did turn off FFT logging because I didn't use it to calibrate my notch filters automatically based on it during flight for my for my notch filtering. And I haven't looked at this, so then he's doing prop wash testing. And right here, that's sort of what I was doing with that one punch out. And you see my punch out. He says check for prop wash by gunning the throttle so that the copter goes straight up, and then drop the throttle to 0 and allow the copter to fall in the prop wash, looking for instability. I didn't read this, but I did it Saturday because I've been doing that on the other copters for years. And to tell you the truth, most of them seem to turn over at the top. And mine did, and I knew not to gun it. I just barely raised up the throttle, and it immediately righted itself. So I don't know what he's talking about here. I will come back in my own time and look at this in detail. Did a hover test. So he's getting pre-filtered sensor. And yeah, it looks like that's what I'm getting. Talking about this here again. I'm getting a log per flight, and that's what I want instead of a log per battery connection. Noise here. So I got to come back and do this. I think, well, I may have to turn FFT back on, but I think I kind of did some of this vibration testing when I did have some of that turned on. So he comes in here and talks about acro tuning. I don't do acro. I hope to someday, but I've just never been interested in it, and I never got through the things I want to do most to get to that point. I do want to do it. I do want to do it successfully and well, but it's kind of low on my want-to-do lists. OSD, I think this is more up to each individual except for the RSSI. And this is just his acro and some of his OSD stuff. Flips and rolls. I have to look at why he changed this perimeter. Boy. I didn't follow this build, so a lot of this I'm seeing for the first time ever. Oh, yeah. core number, index, and IMU mask that will be used as a primary EKF core on startup. While disarmed, the EKF will force the use of this core. A value of 0 corresponds to the first. Wow. And then another value corresponds to another? No. So that's in the EK3 IMU mask. IMU mask. Wow. This is set to a 3. Oh man, I'm not going to sit here and read this. I don't have but 2 IMUs, so could care less if the rest of those are checked. But I will have to, off of this video, come back and look more deeply at that. I didn't realize I was going to find so many divergences in our builds. So he's using FFT for more than just the notch filters down through here. And he's re-enabling it here. I didn't do any of this. I did not do any of this. So I'm learning by making this video that, boy. And I suspected that I had a lot left to do, that I wasn't really through with the tuning. And then this part is getting the perfect tune. I know how to kind of do that one. And I was going to do a video about that one. And revisit my vibrations after a few flights. Here's more fun with compasses. Showing how to mount and configure an external compass. I think this is an addendum kind of by him, because he surely had to configure an external compass way sooner in this sequence above than this. And current sensor is properly calibrated. Yeah, I went through that with you guys. And this is his final thoughts. And that's it. That's kind of it. So I'm going to make this the final video in my Chimera 7 build video kind of dealy that I produced here. It's not really a how-to. It's kind of a sort of. Build it sort of like this, guys. You're going to have differences because you're going to have slightly different parts. And if I were going to actually do how-to videos or buckle down and do how-to videos, mine would be very structured. I would have a set script for every word I was going to say, even on the asides that I might give. And what that would cause is the asides would go away because I would look at the overall time of the video and see it was too long, and all the little tidbits that most people seem to like best would be gone. But I would feel I would have to do that so that I made maximum effort towards not accidentally making the slightest mistake of verbiage or anything that would cause people trouble. So mine aren't really how to. They're kind of, sort of. Build yours sort of like this. If I ever do decide to do how-tos, that's exactly what I will do. They will be very strict, and I think I could do them good. I'm just not as interested in doing videos as I am the hobby. So I will close out this series. I will add tidbits, and as you see there, technically this build isn't finished. But as this isn't a how-to or a build video, I can close it. And we'll talk about me measuring the vibration, going in and looking at the data flash logs to find the overshoot from how my RC input was commanded and what the platform actually did, and how we can put that information on a potentiometer and really tighten the tune down, lock it down. I think that's good for little subsidiary videos as I go through this further. So this will continue to be my journey through this build, but this particular video will finish if you can get it to the point I've got it at. And when I come back through this video and look at compass motor compensation, how he talks about it and the other things he talks about, I will decide if they're new points of my future builds, different from the ones I did in the past, which I've got a bunch of new learning in this build and things I will do differently in all my future builds. I will add those as tidbits too. All right. With that, I hope I've given you enough to at least get the platform off the ground, and I will give you more in the future. Thank you so much.